Welcome to another episode of The Inside Bite. I'm your host, Tim Schaefer, and I have two guests here with me because we're doing a bonus episode here. We've all played the Elden Ring Network Test, and at least for myself, I can speak. I'm very, very high on it. I loved it. We just wanted to go like real deep dive into it. Basically, don't hold anything back, and anyone listening, know this is definitely going to get spoilery with whatever the network test shows us. That's what we're going to discuss, so know that going in. My guest here, I got James here. How you doing, James?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I played the technical test. When was it? Last week?
Yes.
Was it longer? Okay.
It was definitely last week, and I'm feeling very down because it's been a week.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
It feels like
I miss playing it already.
It feels like I was playing it just yesterday, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So.
And then we got Sean here with us as well. How's it going?
Going good. James actually is one of the editors at the site. We both write for mpfirst.com.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, and we were the only two on our site maybe one other person got to play it, but we didn't really talk about it. But James and I are the only ones that talked about it actively in the group, probably to everybody else's annoyance.
I mean, tell me about that website. I had no idea that y'all were doing that. I mean, how long you been doing that website?
I've been there for about 10 years now, just kind of.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Senior editor role over there now, and it's kind of taking care of all the guys, all the other staff. For
what copies. Is the website as a whole like? What is it trying to do? It's like, what's the website's goals? Like, what are you trying to get across necessarily?
We're just trying to focus on some big multiplayer heavy games. There's every website has kind of its own thing going on where cover all the news, but we try to focus on just, kind of the big multiplayer games and kind of hit those niche titles also as well.
We definitely cover single player games as well. The main focus is multiplayer.
Yeah, I feel you need a focus too if you're doing basically anything, You don't want to spread yourself too thin and go out there, but that doesn't mean you also need to be like horse blinders on it, I was going to ask with Elden Ring now, the first time I play it, like for real, I definitely want to play solo and then play co-op and PvP and all that stuff once I already beat it all. What are y'all doing with that? You doing the same? Or
I'm doing the same thing. I mean, it's just how I play just Souls games. I mean, I have to play them solo. I have to go through the entire thing. Yeah. And then I'll play with someone in co-op. Won't spoil anything for them, but, they're just two completely different experiences. And with Elden Ring, I mean, being a big open world game, that's going to be a real special thing, having to go through co-op and even doing all the PvPs and all that.
Exactly. It'll kind of pull you away from the immersion of it if you were to mess with that from the first shot, I feel.
Like, generally speaking, I will go through all the Souls games solo. And then once, like, if I've beaten a boss, I'll throw my sign down just like outside of the room just to help some people beat the boss and also like get some free quote unquote souls, in this case runes.
Yeah, that works. That'll be cool.
In Dark Souls 3, I was so over leveled by the time I finished the game just because that was what I would do with every. I would just go and just get a ton of like XP just from helping people do boss. Then I'd level up. Then I'd go through the next area, beat that boss, and then I'd help people. So I'm probably going to do the same thing here. Depending, I'm hoping that I get to review it, and if we get a review code, I'm going to obviously play it solo, and then go through it. But for the purposes of this, I did co-op on the dragon just because it was the last session, and I wanted to have beaten every boss before it was over. So I did co-op on that one, so I can speak to a little bit of how that went down, and then but every other boss I beat by myself.
Now, let's get into what you said right there at the end. I didn't look anything up, and I know you were telling me off to the side, like, you wanted to make sure you cleared through it all, so you were, like, looking it up and making sure you did this and did that so you could see everything. But I feel I did see everything, so I would love to know if I'm even right on that front.
Well, when you beat the dragon, you go to that island that's underwater.
Yeah, I did do that.
And then you get there's a spell that you get for the dragon heart. I couldn't
Dragon's Breath, right?
I couldn't. No, I think it was the Dragon Roar one. The Dragon Breath was the one that comes with I think it was the warrior class. I did Enchanted Knight. Like, I'm not one of those people who's like, I have to play it melee. Like, I'll do melee, but I like being casting and pyromancy.
I did the knight as well. So that's interesting.
I like doing spells and stuff like that. Like my favorite way to play Demon Souls is being an OP magic user, just annihilating bosses with the, like I just love that.
I want to do like a mix of everything. I was trying to find the right class to where it wasn't just one or another. I wanted to mix it up.
That's why I went with the Enchanted Knight, so I could have the melee and the magic. But it's like I like to work smarter, not harder.
Makes sense. And as long as, the only issue was, and that was their first game, so I don't think this would be the case, but, with Demon Souls, the magic was way too strong, and it was way too easy. You pretty much blasted everything in a few shots, and it's dead. I doubt Elden Ring is going to do that. I'm sure they're going to balance it correctly. You would hope so,
I find saying too easy is a negative. That's no. You give me magic, I'm going to use it, and that's in the game. I'm gonna blow through things and kill as many things as possible. It's about how I get through the game. And Demon Souls was the fourth Souls game I played. I went backwards. I started with Bloodborne.
Okay.
I started with Bloodborne, then I did Dark Souls 2, then I did Dark Souls, and then I did Demon Souls. And then by that time, Dark Souls 3 was out, and then I moved forward. But so I was just like, all right, I'm going to try magic, because I hadn't tried magic in any of the other classes and any of the other games. Obviously, Bloodborne, like the arcane build is like, you have to really, really focus on it. And then in the other Souls games, I feel like at the time I didn't realize what they had done, but it didn't compel me enough, because I was like, this is helpful, but I don't feel like it's doing anything I can't do with a sword, just up close. And then when I played Demon Souls, I was like, oh, now I see. And so now from now on, like even in Dark Souls 3, I used a pyromancer. Obviously Sekiro doesn't have magic, so.
James, what class did you go with?
I went with the warrior because I like being upfront, stabbing things and slashing away and having those sweaty moments, last minute rolls and dodges.
Do you use a shield or do you just do melee?
Just melee.
Okay.
You didn't perform the ever satisfying dodge counter that they've added to this? I mean, not the dodge counter, the guard counter?
I saw that and no.
Oh, it's so good.
I did do it. It's really awesome. He's right. It felt amazing. James, do you feel you saw everything?
I didn't. I actually went in this blind. I started it, and then I know the first tutorial you get is I'm just going to call it the guiding wind from Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah. I know what you mean, though.
The guiding light, it said go this way, and I said, nope, I'm going the other way. And, I went through a few dungeons and said, well, this map doesn't seem so empty at all. That was one of my big concerns of, an open world game and FromSoft and just having an empty map. But
that was my concern as well, because we've never seen them do it, so we were just like, oh, I hope they do it right. But they did it right. It's incredibly dense. Every section, it never feels like, even in Breath of the Wild, there'll be moments where you're traveling a good distance before you get to the next thing. This is like you go maybe 10 seconds and there's already something new.
I feel like it's open enough. Like you feel like you're not like, it doesn't feel like something you would want to just run around in. Like the horse torrent is useful, not just for like its abilities, but like from getting you to point A to point B. It is useful. It's open enough, but I never felt like I was riding for too long without experiencing something to find or fight.
And even if let's say you went to travel to a destination that wasn't even that far, let's say it took like a minute or two to get there, you would already find so much even in that quick little travel in between.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then next thing you know, you see some little like ledge off to the side that you can maybe jump down to. So you want to like try that out. And so many moments throughout the game, I kept thinking like, I doubt there's something here, but I just have to check. And every time I did, I actually got rewarded. Yeah. Like, I can't think of a single time I didn't. It was pretty crazy.
Well, From Software, like they're my favorite developers. So, and one of the things I like about it is that everything feels like it has a purpose. Like you go, even in the more narrow, linear, so to speak, paths of like Sense Fortress or, like even Blighttown. Like, you're going somewhere, you're headed somewhere. All the encounters are like almost like mathematically like input into the game to make sure that the player encounters this particular thing at this particular moment. They just took that philosophy and expanded it out. Like they just spread it out. It's really, really, really neat.
What I was just talking about when I was going to the ledge, there's ones, let's say right where you start. It's like if you're looking straight ahead, it's going to be behind you towards the right. Let's say like northeast sort of quadrant. Not quite wherever you hit the swamp area with the dragon, but before that to the northeast, there's a section to where you could sort of jump on some pillars, and if you're on your horse, you can jump from pillar to pillar and eventually work yourself down to where you get on this beach side. It's like the other side of the waterfall. Like if you were on that beach and you see the waterfall and you can't go any further, but if you're on the other side of that waterfall, did y'all ever go over there? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I didn't. I purely, like, the only things I realized today when I had told you that I had seen everything, I realized today that I didn't, because I didn't go to the left of, you know what I mean? Like I kind of stayed like straight ahead and to the right and explored all of that. Like, but I didn't see the jellyfish. I didn't go into the graveyard with the invisible skeletons that apparently exist there.
My favorite summon was the Jellyfish Summon. That was, I used him a ton. Almost every boss, I just whipped out my jellyfish.
What did he do?
And he basically can poison him. And on top of that, he's very tanky. He has a ton of health, but he's very slow. But it doesn't matter. So he's just like excreting poison all over him. And I'm like screwing him up from behind. And he's such a good distractor. And he's really tanky.
I used the wolves mostly, and I had the mercenary too that I used. I didn't buy the sorcerer because I was like, that's just redundant. And he's probably squishy as hell. He'll probably die in like one hit. So I was like, that's not really useful to me.
I bought them all and used them all. The wolves are probably my second favorite because they can separate a good distance and they're not all getting hit at the same time. Like, when you got that pack of the mercenaries and it's like 4 or 5 of them, they all stick together and they all pretty much get hit in one hit. And they don't really seem that useful, but the wolves seem to separate themselves a little better.
I noticed that you can use the shield. There's like a shield, Ash of War, that will heal everything in a circle, like in the environment. And if you put that down, you can keep healing the wolves so that they stay alive.
I had that, but I didn't know what it did.
You can heal the wolves so that they can stay alive longer in a fight. So that's pretty cool, and that's definitely something I'm going to be doing in the final game.
See, I love like hearing things I didn't know, because I felt I was like saw everything, tried everything, but I had no idea what that move even did. I was trying to figure it out for the longest time.
Yeah, it's like an area effect healing. So as long as you're in there, you like it.
It's like a gold ring, right?
Yeah, it regenerates your health, and so regenerate the wolves' health. So you could like, one of the things I did was I don't know, James. Did you use any magic or like cool Ashes of War or anything? Because there was this one where you basically turn your sword into like this giant magic greatsword that thrusts. And I used that. Like I would basically have the wolves getting all the guys gathering, and I just kept like stabbing into the group, and it was just like, they were just falling over left and right. It was awesome.
I did use, I think it was lightning, but that was about it.
I used lightning. That's awesome.
Yep, that was like the only thing I really used. I did use the summoning spells. I summoned, what was it, the mage guy? There's a mage.
Yeah.
He died in like 2 hits.
That's what I was saying. He's too squishy.
Yep.
He was not good.
Nope.
I think he was like the worst summon. Did you get any more summons, James?
I did get the wolves. That was probably one of my favorites for sure. And I think I did get a couple other ones, but I didn't get to try them
There's a really big mercenary guy where it's a single dude.
It's like the guy who's on the horse, not the Black Knight, but the other guys that ride horses.
Yeah, and he was really good.
He was kind of tanky too. He's like a good in between. Could take some damage, but also could do some damage. But I only used him like maybe twice.
I think because he was so powerful, it took so much MP to use.
Yeah, that's why.
And So I didn't use him that much because of that. But, he's still awesome. You just have to be prepared.
He's 100 FP to cast him.
What was one of your favorite moments of finding like a secret you would have never expected to come across in the game? Because there's many moments like that, but can you think of one that really stuck out to you?
So I didn't encounter the dragon the first time around. I kind of skipped him, and I went through the dungeon, and then I found that dragon shrine, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. Maybe this is like a late game kind of thing. And then after the beta, I figure out, oh, you have to kill the dragon and come back, get the spell from that location. And
yeah.
But just being able to get there earlier than expected and kind of just look at it and be like, oh, this is cool. I wonder what the story is behind all this. And then kind of learning afterwards, oh, I could kill the dragon and get rewarded, if I come back here. You mentioned the waterfall part. I didn't go on the other side of it. I was actually underneath where all the skeletons spawn.
Yeah.
There's that NPC actually hiding underneath kind of the cavern there. I thought that was really cool too. Just, like you see all those weird flesh sea monsters, that ball of sea, I don't know what it was, just kind of on the shore, and you're just kind of exploring and you're like, oh, cool, just a random NPC hanging out here. Wonder what the story is behind that.
The merchant guy?
Yeah.
Found him. Yeah. Did you get the that on the beach there was that like light in the sand, like going around a path, like around those pillars?
I couldn't figure that out.
I could not figure that out.
I just stabbed it, and then you get an Ash of War.
Oh my god!
It's one of those little ball things that roll around that you have to kill, but it's invisible for some reason. And I fucking stabbed it. I just timed it and I stabbed it, and I got the an Ash of War from it. I don't remember which one.
So I saw messages saying attack, and I'm like, dude. So I'm riding on my horse, keeping up with the light. I'm attacking the ground, and nothing's happening. And I'm like, I am attacking, nothing's happening. I don't get it.
You have to hit like where its footprint is right before it. Like you have to hit, because once it passes, then that light hits. So it's like you have to time it so it's right before it gets to where you should be. So I did. It took me a few tries, and then I finally hit it, and I got the Ash of War. I think, like I said, I forget which one it was. I knew it was one I already had, I think, but yeah, it gives you an Ash of War. I don't know what it's going to give you in the final game. Like I imagine it'll probably be different. I have a strong feeling that a lot of the stuff you started with in this network test is not stuff you're going to have access to when you start the actual game.
The land's going to be the same, but I feel they're going to move stuff around or change things,
Yeah, and especially like how and I think things are going to get nerfed and buffed.
Yeah.
Like I think they wanted to give people the best chance of success in a limited amount of time. So they beef some things up.
Right there at the end, I played like the Faith class for just a tiny bit, just to try something else before it ended. He was crazy strong. Right from the start, it has like this Beast Claw move. I'm killing anything with this Beast Claw in one hit. Like the, the knight that's in the, it's like a little village where there's a whole bunch of knights, but there's the stronger one of them all. Even him, I killed him in one swipe.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? Like, this move seems crazy strong. And I have yet to even level up once. I'm like, I can only imagine if I actually get this guy strong, what I can do with him.
I'm looking forward to trying the Beast Claw out. One of the things I did was towards the end, because I had beaten all the bosses, and I was like, all right, well, I don't want to stop playing, and I want to kind of see what it is. So where that little ruins is that you're talking about with all the knights, and then there's that site of grace right next to the archway, and you can go up the archway, and there's all the archers and the giant troll.
The big guy comes.
Well, I found out that you could ride around that and go up over the hill and bypass that entire section.
Yeah, I found that out way after the fact, but yes.
I went up there, and then I just basically farmed those big trolls. There's like 5 or 6 big trolls up there.
Exactly. You get those stones.
Yeah, you get the upgrade stones. And what I wound up doing was I did 2 things in my farming. One, I would shoot them with sleep arrows, and they would fall down, and then I would get them a critical hit.
Oh, nice.
Or cool. I was using, like James had said, the lightning. I put it on my spear, and I was just like fucking like thoring those motherfuckers, like just like hit him, and then it was just like I leveled up the spear as much as I could, and it was just like doing major damage to them. So I wound up just farming them a bunch of times and just basically upgraded every single weapon that I had just to do it +3. So because I was like, I want to do something while I still have time in this world. I'm really looking forward to exploring that section that was walled off, like just going over there and seeing what is over there.
And they purposely put items directly after the wall.
You're like,
just to tease you.
There's that one in the starting cave that's above you. Like if you turn around, there was an item above you, and I'm like, I was walking around that starting cave.
Oh, I figured that out. Okay, so what I thought, I got confused. Y'all were talking about the dragon and then going to a whole nother section. I thought I saw that, but I saw something else and that y'all didn't see. So after the waterfall, if you go to the other side, there's a cave. You go all the way through the cave. There's another one that goes to the beginning of the game, and you get to go to that ledge where that item was you're talking about.
Oh, where's that?
So again, it's after that waterfall.
Oh, so it's on the other side. I should have went to the left instead of the right. Okay. All right. Next time, when I play that again, I'm going to go. Well, that's one of the things I love about these games is that just like go in there and like it encourages you poking and trying to almost break the game just to try to see what you can discover. And it's just what's going to be fun. Like this has happened 3 times with me from Software games where I started on the ground floor with everybody discovering things. Bloodborne, which was my first Souls experience at all. Then obviously Dark Souls 3, we all went in there together. We got opening day, we all went in there. And then again with Sekiro. So it's going to be really exciting for this open world to have everybody try to go. I know a lot of us like that we're able to play are going to know some things. Like you said, I think they're going to move some stuff around, so we're not going to be able to find things like just as easy as we were. I think some things will be, some things won't be. I don't think they're going to completely like rearrange the location of everything, but I'm really looking forward to like, oh, did you try this? Did you go and like we just had with the thing on the beach? You know, I'm looking forward to that kind of experience.
Did y'all ever feel they were like referencing Zelda here or there? Because especially when it came to those areas where there'd be like a secret little staircase, I totally felt like they were referencing the original Zelda with those like staircases that you go down and then you get an item. It was like to the T of how that was. And that village we were talking about with the knights, there's a little staircase in there. You go down the staircase and then there's a chest or whatever. But just how it's like laid out with like the stairs and the floor and stuff like that, and it being like a cave looking area thing. I don't know. I felt they were referencing like OG Zelda with that.
They probably were. I mean, the influence is clear. It's not to say they're copying them or anything like that. They're just inspired by that kind of design, and you know they're doing their own thing with it. But obviously, if you look at any preview, you're going to be seeing Breath of the Wild comparison and all of that. It's unavoidable. But that's not to say Elden Ring is ripping off of Zelda. It's
far from that, but it is pulling, like you're saying, inspirations from it.
I feel like people just have a general like desire to want to explain things as simply as possible by referencing things that exist. And so people to say Breath of the Wild, because it's more like it's not Skyrim. Like I know it might give that impression to a certain degree, but it's not. It's not that big of a world. There's not random encounters. It's still a From game where you're going to get, like I said, those mathematically placed encounters. You're going to experience this person at this same location every time you respawn. Every time you rest at a site of grace, this thing is going to be there, unless it's one of the world bosses that don't respawn. Or I'm not sure. I did kill the Black Knight on the bridge at night. I'm not sure if he respawned, but like that big caravan with the when the two giant things with the two giant trolls that are pulling the cart, they always spawn there. So basically, once you get that cart, that thing is just kind of useless. That whole little area.
It almost works like Majora's Mask. You know, like people are going to be at a certain area at a certain time. I feel it works like that.
And it's always going to be there. And I did test to see if anything else had spawned in that chest, but it didn't. I don't know if that's going to be the way it is in the main game, but I have a feeling that's something that because I wound up killing both of those trolls first before I took the treasure. And it's funny because they don't attack you. You just like hit them in the heel and they stop moving. The only thing they'll do is like they'll try to stomp their feet. But yeah, I just killed them both. Took whatever. It's a good heavy armor weapon set in there, and I took that. And then every time it just kept showing back up again and again and again. So that was always going to be something that you experience there.
I like how From Software took one of the biggest enemies they've ever, created. It is a boss, but it's just also out there in the world, always respawning. The troll guy.
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw him, from the beach, I hit there, using their stealth mechanic, hit there in the bush. I'm like, yeah, I'll just fight this guy later and kill him, and so he won't spawn again. And I killed him. I died. Come back. He's there again. And we're just like, seriously.
There's a giant when you're on your way up. There's a boss that you have to go like some kind of like spiritual jail that you touch the ground and he comes out and it's kind of like he reminded me of the dancer a little bit.
Oh
the
yeah,
dancer
yeah.
And there's the site of grace by the shack. I forget what it's called, like Traveler's Shack or something.
Okay.
On the opposite side of that, on the bluff, there
was a bunch of guys with like fire arrows in that area.
There's like
right?
there's like these caterpillars like that are made of like balls, and then in the center there's this purple like thing that you interact with.
It goes into a different realm, and then the guy shows up.
That guy came out. Yeah. But also, if you go past that, it's right above one of the caves. There's a stone giant that gets up out of the ground and starts and like fights you. I didn't go back to see if he was alive after I killed him, but he was like a mini boss. He didn't have like a health bar on the bottom, which I
don't think I fought him because I fought the ring guy, and then there was a tower a little after that, but I don't remember another kind of boss guy in that area.
He's not a boss. He's just like an enemy with a lot of health, but he's giant. He's like different than the regular trolls. Like he has like a helmet on, and he has a giant like axe, and like I just was riding around there, and then all of a sudden he stood up, and I was like, "Whoa! All right, I guess we're doing this."
Actually, speaking of Zelda, that reminds me of Zelda. Those big stone guys that would just come out of the ground. And fight you. Basically, 3 big stones kind of form into one monster. And they're kind of all over.
This guy looks like he looks like it's just rocks in the ground, but then like you realize, oh no, he's like, if you really pay attention, you could see that like something's laying there. And I walked past it once and nothing happened. And then the second time I went back to that area, he stood up, and I was like, because I couldn't tell where the cave was that I was looking for because I knew it was on my map. But I couldn't figure out where it was. And then, so I was on the cliff because I thought it was above it. He wasn't there. Then he was there, but he didn't get up. And then the second time I went there, he got up, and I beat him again with the electricity.
Right. So I've played, Dark Souls 3, Demon Souls, Sekiro. I played some of Bloodborne, but I was late to Bloodborne. I only tried I think it was like 6 months ago. I was like, okay, time to get to this game. And it's stuck at 30 FPS, and I just couldn't do it. And so I'm like still sitting here hoping for an update. And then I don't know, I guess eventually I'll just kind of give up and play it anyway. But I'm really hoping they patch it. Regardless, I've played enough now, but I'm still only like 2 years in, so I'm still kind of new to all of this. But I was going to say originally is like, what do you feel difficulty with this game with the talk of just the general conversation of what do they do when it comes to difficulty of do they try to make it more accessible to other people? Do they just keep doing what they're doing and just let them be? Or do you really feel they should try to cater to more people? What do you think they should do?
Okay, buckle up. James knows I have very strong feelings about this. Top level, if From Software decides to make their games easier or more accessible, awesome. That's what they want to do, awesome. But the constant asking for it, the constant fucking pontificating and editorializing of From Software games being hard and being gatekeepy and keeping people from enjoying the games is all white noise garbage. Look, here's the reality. Like, there's thousands and thousands of video games.
Yeah.
Like, if they choose, they have been.
I mean, there's probably millions.
They have been doing this kind of game since 2009. Probably sooner, but like this was really when they really hit this formula and found their success. And each game sells more than the previous one. So, and they have yet to add like an actual difficulty option into the game. They give you plenty of ways to succeed in the game without having to dumb down the difficulty. You can summon, you can use magic, you can do all kinds of things. The asking for it and begging for it and whining about it. Like I got into a disagreement with somebody who was like, "Oh, well, if you were hoping that they would make this more accessible, they got bad news for you." And I was like, and I'll get into this in a second, but I was like, they've made this plenty accessible. There's tons of things. And I listed all these things that were accessible. I wrote an article about it on the website, mpfirst.com. It's called, it's my Elden Ring's Impressions, Accessible Souls. And it just goes down all the things that they do to make it more accessible.
And I'll put the website into the show notes, by the way, like
awesome.
On the podcast feed. But
yeah. So if From decides one day to be like, we've made a game that you can go into the options and choose easy difficulty, that's fine. But when people say, I want to be able to experience this game, but I want you to remove all the things that make it actually experiencing this game, then you don't want to experience this game. You want to experience something else. Because that's not what this is. That's like me going to a GTA game going, I hate guns, so I want to play GTA where there's a mode with no guns. Like, then you don't want to experience GTA. You want something else.
Play something else, and there's plenty of other options. Yeah,
so,
I'm with you.
Yes, this game is by far the most accessible Souls game. Now, this is all based on my experience with the network test, so things could change, but you start off with all your summoning materials. You have the summon sign, you have PvE sign, you have everything you want to do if you want to do co-op or competitive, whatever, right? Then you get, like, right by the first site of grace is the two effigies that you summon that puts your name into a pool. So you could basically put yourself into a summon pool, leave, and then it'll summon you back to that pool when somebody asks for your help. So you don't have to sit there and stay.
Yeah, that's pretty accessible.
Yeah,
if you're talking accessible options, I mean, that's pretty accessible.
You don't have, and then you have the fact that magic is there. The spirit summons make everything so much easier. I beat Margit the Fell on my first attempt just by casting the wolves and then pelting him with magic. And then he had like a quarter of his health left, if not less, that I just whacked him with my twin blade a bunch of times and then beat him. So like, this game is way more accessible. Now, is it still hard? Yes. Are you going to die a lot? Probably. But to onboarding to this game is there's way more checkpoints than you have
even the horse. All you have to do is get on your horse if you're really in a bad spot and just run away.
Yeah.
Right? You know how many opportunities you have to do that? I mean, that makes it pretty accessible.
Then there's the shrines of Marika, the stake of Marika, where basically it's like a checkpoint. So even if you if your last site of grace was like pretty far away, you get past this site of Marika, you get the little icon, it's like a gravestone in the left corner. Yeah. And if you die, you give the option of respawning there so you can just jump right back in and start the fight again. Like, there's so many options that they give people to make this an easier, more digestible experience for people who are put off by these games, while still being able to experience these games. Like, the bosses are hard. The bosses are going to punish you if you don't know how to play the game. You're still going to have to learn how to play the game, but they give you lots of other things to make more accessible to people who are put off by these games. But unfortunately, even this guy, I told him, and he was like, well, I still had this, the X, Y, and Z. I said, well, then this is never going to be, you're never going to be happy until they basically say you don't have to fight anything, or like you do 5 times damage and the bosses do like 1/10 of the damage.
Yeah, I don't even know what would please these. Yeah. And I was saying that beginning spiel of like, hey, I'm only like 2 years fresh in all this. I'm only just started, to emphasize like, look, like I get it, because I was just there to where I was looking at these games and I was trying them, legitimately trying, and I just hated it. I hated all of it. I was like dying left and right. It felt like some like full-time job, and I was not enjoying it. I don't understand what's going on. It just felt like torture, and I was just like, how is anyone enjoying this? You know, and I felt this for like years. And then a friend just kept pestering me, dude, just play. And eventually, like, Dark Souls 3, I start playing that, and this is like probably my 4th attempt of even trying to play this game. But I was just like, I kept hearing for so long that the series is like one of the most important video game series of all time, kind of deal. Like it's like revolutionized the entire video game structure and all of this. And I always feel really jealous that I can't enjoy it, and I'm always just hating it and I'm wanting to, So eventually I just keep grinding through and I just hit that magic moment. And I remember when it was exactly. I was fighting it was like Dark Souls 3. It was like a dual blade knight guy. It was like a fire sword and I think ice. I can't remember. And I died probably 30, 40 times to him. And I eventually figured out that when I hit a button, I thought I would just do the action once and that's it. But it almost kind of locks you in animations. And if you hit it 2 or 3 times, you're almost going to do it 2 or 3 times before it lets you do something next. And like, I started finding all of these things out to how the game actually works. And then once it sort of clicked in that motion, from then on, like, yeah, it's still challenging, but it's challenging just like any other video game. It was no longer this impossible feat of like, what am I even doing? This seems impossible. I just had to take time to just really think about it and understand it. That's all it really took,
I'm curious to what James's cherry popping moment was.
my thoughts on the whole make Dark Souls.
Well, yeah, and then
easy.
also your history of it.
See, you guys were probably introduced to From Software with the Souls series. I played their previous titles, Armored Core. Those games were not easy. I mean, they don't play like Dark Souls, but they're hard. I mean, you're in a mech. It's third person. Sometimes some of them play clunky. Some of them, are super fast. You can dodge. I mean, it has some similarities to the Dark Souls, but those games were really hard.
Real quick before you continue, did you ever play those Toki games or something? Because they just became backwards compatible with Xbox, and I was curious about diving into them. But they were From Software games right before they basically did Demon Souls. But it was on original Xbox. It was like a Toki 1 and a Toki 2 or something like that.
I think I played the original one. I just don't remember.
Okay, I was
just
curious if I should play it or not, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
I've heard they're good. If it's the series I'm thinking about,
go ahead.
This whole make it easy, make it accessible for everyone. In my personal opinion, it's From Software's DNA. Any longtime fan that has been with them, they understand that they make these games hard, but they're also not hard once you, like you said, Tim, once you start learning the mechanics and kind of understanding how things work. It's like, oh, this boss is doing this swing. I should dodge here and then roll forward and then slash him and then dodge out of it.
Exactly.
There's this learning curve on it. And I always see the argument, oh, make these games easier because they're so niche or however you pronounce it.
But if we're not doing the roll back and the stab and the roll and the guard and all of that, and if you were to take all that away, now you're taking stuff away from players that once they do understand it and could really dig deep, now it's not nearly as deep and it's not nearly as rewarding. You're almost punishing a whole bunch of people because you selfishly want it to be how you want it to be. It feels selfish to me. Like,
exactly. I mean, you can't make these games easy for the sake of appealing to more people. I mean, you can't. And like Sean was saying in his article, there are a lot of things that Elden Ring does in order to address that without kind of sacrificing their core gameplay. It's easy to fast travel, easy to summoning. You can co-op now and get all these magic, all this magic stuff. You can literally
fast travel to a previously rested site of grace from anywhere on the map just by moving it over and pressing the button, and you're going.
Yeah.
It's like the Homeward Bone, just like way quicker. You know what I mean? Like what you guys were saying, so my history with From, I was aware of From Software, but they never registered. No, I'm talking even before Demon Souls. Like they made a Tenchu game and all that stuff. Like I was aware of them. Kingsfield. I'm old, so I played games on the PS1.
I've played those games before. I just never knew it was them, and I never played them all the way through. It was just one of those games I played for a bit and moved on, kind of deal.
I remember listening to the Giant Bombcast, and Vinny was talking about how he started playing this game, Demon Souls, and then he started talking about these when you hear somebody talking about it without context, it just sounds so abstruse and weird and hard for the sake of being hard. And then Dark Souls came out and I heard the same conversations. So then when Dark Souls 2 came out, I heard the same conversations. So when Bloodborne came out, I was writing for a different website and I went to this event and they had a kiosk of Bloodborne and I played it and I tried playing it like a hack and slash, right? I was like, not my thing, because I don't like hack and slash games. I really don't. I feel like they're the antithesis of everything I like about video games, just button mashing with no actual skill, and I don't want to learn a bunch.
No thought.
Yeah, it's just press this button as fast as possible. That's why I never looked like those those games with the Lord of the Rings games were based on them. I forget what they're called. There's like 100 of them now, but anyway, so I don't like hack and slash. So I was like, I'm not going to play it. So then I had a spot when it came out, I had a spot on my GameFly queue and I said, I'm going to rent this. And just for shits and giggles, just like an experiment, I'm going to see how far I can get into this game before I just quit. Because again, like I had been playing video games for so long that I had on the NES, games were not easy. Like they were hard and you had to die over and over again. But video games have gotten so far away from that over the last 15, 20 years that they've become way easier, right? So I gave Bloodborne a shot and I even jokingly in my group, I was like, hey, how long do you think? They're like, I'll give you 2 hours, right? Blah, 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 right? Fast forward to the end of the game, and the platinum, it's my favorite game I've ever played in my entire life. I was like, this and that.
Is it still your favorite video game?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like,
cool. And it's Rudy's as well, by the way.
Yeah, me and Rudy have bonded over Bloodborne many, many times, and it's like, and part of that was because it reminded me of what I liked about video games. I like learning the pattern and figuring out, if I do the X, Y will happen, and this thing, doing that and that combat and stuff. So that's why I decided, okay, I'm going to give Bloodborne. I'm going to go do Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 kicked my ass bad because one, it is nothing like Bloodborne. It doesn't play like Bloodborne. It doesn't then it was Dark Souls 2 where they had that shit where your health gets depleted every time you die and come back you can until you have 50% health. Because again, I hadn't played Demon Souls yet. So it just Hyde's Tower of Flame just fucked me up. It was bad. But I pushed through it and I beat it and I was like, oh, I really like this game. Then I played Dark Souls and I really like that. So then I became this huge From Software fan and then I started understanding. And the thing is, these games aren't hard. There's parts that are challenging. There's parts that are frustrating. But if you take the time and learn what the game is showing you and what it's teaching you, then you will succeed. And it gives you tools to succeed, not just with co-op, just if you're playing by yourself. You can over-level. Over-leveling is complete. The only game where over-leveling isn't an option is Sekiro. Sekiro was the one where I thought, I'm done. I cannot beat this game. I hit my head against the second boss for a week. Literally I explored everywhere I could possibly explore. I had to get past him. And then one day I just beat him. And it was awesome. And then I found out that I was playing with a broken joystick.
Dang.
My controller, I said joystick. I'm so old. I was playing with my controller.
I know what you mean though, yeah.
But it had a dead zone on the right stick that was pretty significant. And I beat the game. I beat Genichiro with a broken controller. And then after I replaced that controller, the game was way easier for me. But I also learned what it was a trial by fire, learning how to play the game.
Yeah, it almost forced you to learn that.
Yeah, and so when I see people sitting there saying they want From, and I want people I want more people to play From Software games. I'm not one of those people I like punk rock and hardcore that I don't want the band to become successful. I want the band to become successful. I just don't want them to change what made them special in the first place just so they can become more successful.
Now the problem with that is that's a lot of people's fears though. I mean, you're just talking about music, their fear that, hey, once it becomes successful, they're going to change because now they don't have to try as hard because that drive may not be in it as much because they don't have much to prove as much as they did when they were struggling and all of that conversation. So
those are all valid things, but I'm just saying for me,
I don't agree with it, but I'm saying that's the worry. You know what I mean?
The whole reason why people are having conversations about this and why From Software's games being challenging is always being this thing, or when you get dumb articles where like this idiot's like, From Software needs to respect the player's time and add an easy mode. Like the whole reason why these conversations are happening, why they if these things didn't generate clicks and interest, they wouldn't do it. So what you're looking at is the reason why is because these games have become popular doing exactly what they do, right? They become a talking point doing exactly what they do. And then going back to what I said earlier, now these people want to play these games, but they don't want to play the games that are popular. The only reason why you're even thinking about this game at all is because of why they got this popular. So why do you want them to not be the thing that made them this popular? Like, I don't get it. Like, it's so, exactly. It's like,
no, you're 100%
you're not thinking this through. You want them to be different so you can experience it, but then you're going to experience not what made them popular.
Yeah, and then it's not going to be nearly as good of a game because of it.
I won't say that. I will not say that. I trust
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm saying if they cater to what they thought players would want, not what they wanted.
They will find a way. I trust them so much that they will find a way to make a special experience, but that game will not be what it was, what those other games were. They can make a great game with an easy mode and everybody will like it, but when you experience that game, you're not experiencing the 7 other games that got you to the point where you were going to play this game, because it's a different kind of game. It's like you want to experience the world of Dark Souls. Part of the world of Dark Souls is the oppressive feeling you have, because every single step is like dreadful, because you don't know if this step is going to cost you 50,000 souls.
And speaking of that, even like the music, even the environment, like regardless of even the difficulty, they make you feel that on all fronts of the dread.
I'll say this to anybody listening who hasn't played a Souls game, you guys can agree with this or not. The first thing you need to do, and this will make the experience exponentially better for all of you, don't worry about if you die and lose souls. You'll get more. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about
all been there. You're gonna hate it. It's gonna be difficult, all of that. But just try to push through it and just try to have fun anyway.
But don't worry about losing souls. Like, I have lost hundreds of thousands of souls on a run through, and I'm like, fuck. And then I just go, well, all right. And then I just go and collect more souls by killing more. You know what I mean? Like, don't hold on to that like your life depends on it. Like, you just gotta get it again. You just go gather some more.
Just like your experience points and your levels, it's just as important, your own experience, by just playing and knowing. Like, that goes further than any experience points could give you. Just the knowledge you learn yourself by playing. Elden Ring as a whole, I mean, did we all think we pretty much did install everything? Like, James, I forget. Did you actually get through it all, do you feel?
I know I didn't. I just kind of one of those things. I'll play it for a bit. I'll beat the last boss, but I'll save the rest for,
Did you go to the castle and fight the boss there? Like the one shown in that gameplay demonstration?
Yes.
Okay. You fought the guy on the horse in the beginning?
I died to him. but yeah, I did fight him, and I did a couple of dungeons to the north of that.
The horse guy in the beginning, I actually felt he was probably one of the hardest ones. I'm trying to think if there was the dragon. I spent a lot of time on him, but I was just like on horseback, like hitting a few times, going away to eventually die. I wasn't really like that challenging, but for some reason that horse guy gave me so many problems. The only other thing I could think of, I'm trying to think who gave me the hardest time. Weirdly, that lion in the castle area was harder, I felt, than even the boss in that same area. Did y'all fight him?
I did fight him. He killed me once.
Okay, wow.
I feel like getting to him was harder because you had those ballistas.
Because there's so many fucking people and arrows, and you got to go through all that. And even if you just try to run past them anyway, they're going to start coming towards you while you're trying to fight the lion. So I think that's all it was. I eventually had to like run into a corner, have them coming one by one to me until I pretty much wiped everyone else out on the map, and then went to go fight the lion. And then after 2 or 3 times, I was able to beat him. But I spent hours on that stupid section because of all of the other mess around him.
I got through that section pretty quickly. It was the part after that really gave me in trouble. I was like, this makes Sense Fortress this makes Anor Londo look like an amusement park ride when you're getting
the guy throwing the fires from the
yes,
rocks,
and then
right
ballistas, arrows, fire, explosions. Like I was like, what is happening? And then you get up there and it's just like one little item up there. You can't go any further.
Exactly. It was an Ashes Award. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember it not even being that good.
Yeah, I was like man. It's like
but yeah.
But I was like, that was brutal.
What was one of the hardest moments that you feel you came across?
James.
So kind of like you said earlier, the horse guy at the start, we started the game and I thought that's how we get our horse. We have to kill this guy to get our horse. And I spent a good chunk trying to kill him, underleveled with my wimpy sword and just trying to kill him. And then I decided to move on, go to a few bonfires, and I finally got my horse and I went back and killed him.
So once you got the horse, you felt he was pretty, like he wasn't nearly as difficult.
Yeah, and same with the dragon. I mean, same with the dragon. Once I got the horse, it was a little bit easier to, obviously dodge some of his attacks and move away from his fire blasts and all that. So I think the horse makes things a lot easier. It takes a little longer to kill things, but for me, I think one of the harder bosses was definitely that horse dude, just because I spent so much time thinking I was going to get a horse from him.
I tried to fight him right away, died, and said, okay, I'm not going to fight him. And then I was like, I'll come back for him when I get my mount. And then once I got my mount, I died on him like 3 times. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to move over my Estus flask to 1 and then 3 FP flasks. And so I have enough magic to just stay far away from him and keep pelting him. And that's what I did. And he died. And then
what magic moves were you using?
I used the 3, like, I forget what it's called.
The almost mini swords that kind of pop up around.
No, I used that later, but that's not magic.
Okay.
That's an Ash of War. But this is like, it's like you see it in the video, in the gameplay video. He goes like this, and these 3 like crystal arrows come up in the air and hit the dragon.
Oh, okay.
I used that one.
I never used that.
Yeah, I used that one. I just kept doing it. It would do 3. It cost double the XP of the single arrow, but it was like the 3 soul arrows that just kept hitting him. And I did that. And then he can block magic with his shield, but I just kept getting around him on the other side so that he couldn't He couldn't use the shield to block. So I just did that with him. And then that's how I took him out. I was like, all right, you know what? I'm running out of FP, but if I have one more pull, if I have one more like refill on this, I can get him. And then when I did that, I got him. Did you guys do the flask that you can mix stuff and have an extra flask?
That was so cool. That's something new in this game, by the way. And I thought that was awesome. It's very clever. So yeah, you can find these, I guess, orbs throughout the game, and then you can mix 2 of these crystal orbs into make a new flask, and it can be a mix of like one orb can be more stamina, and then the other could be like halfway health refill, right? And you put the 2 together, and now your stamina fills and you get half health from one flask. There was one that exploded, and then so I would do half health with the explosion so I wouldn't die and still be left with half health and explode everything around me. It was super cool.
I tried the explosion one. It worked I did it on one boss and it worked, but I was like, you know what? That's funny for little ha-has. I found another one where it gave you 20% FP and refilled your health. That was my concoction. So I basically had 3 1/4. I had 3 health files and then 2 1/4 FP files. So that's what I wound up doing there. The medallions are replacing rings, and they've gone down from 4 to 3. It's more like it's more like Demon Souls.
And there's talismans too.
Yeah, the talismans are instead of rings, you have these talismans which give you your XP boost or raise your health. Well, I'm not XP boost. There might be an XP boost, but the ones I found, it increases your stamina bar, and 1 increases your health bar. So you can have that. Like you can wear those. Like there's a lot of God. I'm just so in love with this game. It sucks because my problem is, and this has happened with me ever since Bloodborne, that whenever I play a From Software game and I'm done with playing the From Software game, I have no desire to play anything else. Like it sucks all the joy of video games out of other video games. It happened. This I didn't even finish it. I just couldn't play it anymore. And now I'm just sitting here going like, this is 3 months. I made a joke yesterday that I was like, I can't wait till December 25th, not because it's Christmas, but because it means there's only 2 months left until Elden Ring. Like,
I'm very, very high on it. I mean, if I were, I jokingly said in the last episode, if I could give Elden Ring Network Test Game of the Year, I would.
I said that too. I tweeted that. I said, can a Network Test win Game of the Year? And like, it was just, it's so good. Like, I will be shocked if there's anything I like more next year than this game. And like, that was my feeling going through before I even touched the Network Test. And mind you, like, we talked about this before recording. I didn't play it optimally. Like, I did not get into the Network Test. I was bummed. They sent you an email that said, like, thank you for your interest in Elden Ring. We did not choose you. And I was like, I would have rather just not gotten the email. I would have rather been ghosted than be told, like, you were not chosen. Like, it's just like, oh, fuck off. Like, and then you're going to keep trying to advertise to me. Like, fuck. Like, but don't, because in the end it said, but please pre-order the game. Like, no, fuck you. Like, don't do that. That's fucked up. That's like, no, don't do that. That's terrible.
I didn't even get that email. I personally, I think it would have been nice to get that email to kind of know.
I would have rather been ghosted.
Send me a code.
Trust me, you didn't get the email, so you don't know the feeling when you open it up. But trust me, I got the email, and it's a shitty feeling, and it sucked. So I was just that's one of the reasons why I started watching a bunch of stuff, because I was like, I'm not gonna play it, so I'm just gonna watch everybody's coverage of it. And then like the day Friday, my friend messaged me and was like, hey, do you want my code for Elden Ring? And he's a big Xbox guy, so I knew it was going to be on Xbox, and I don't have the Series X yet. I only have the One X. So I was like, I don't care. Yes, I'll take it. I do it. So I played it at 30 frames per second with slow ass load times on a fucking Xbox One X, and I did not care because it was one of the happiest moments of my life, firing that up and start like the feeling I had, the giddiness I had that I was going to be playing this, not just because I love From Software, because I know a lot of people didn't get in. Like, there was that part of me too, where I was just like, I'm going to play it. I'm going to be on the inside. I'm going to know. And then it's just, dude, I literally, like, I played, there was 5 sessions. I missed the first one because, for obvious reasons, because one, I worked during the week, and 2, because I didn't have a code. So I played the second, third, fourth, and fifth. The third one, I had to set an alarm to wake me up at 2:55 a.m. so I could go play the game.
I got lucky because of my time zone. It ends up being like 5 a.m. and not 3 a.m.
No.
So, but yeah, I had to set my alarm to like 4:30. You had to do 2:30.
No, 2:55. I literally woke up, wiped the sleep from my eyes, and turned it on and played it for 3 hours, went to sleep, woke up, and then like hung out all day, and then played it again from like the last test, which was from 7 to 10. I would say I put in 11 hours because the first session I got home at 7:30 and I had to install it, and then I didn't get to start until 8. So I only got to play 2 hours the first night. But yeah, I put in 11 hours of that game, and I could have easily put in 70 more.
Yeah, I've put in 12 hours in total.
The media, the people who were covering it the week before, they had unlimited access for 72 hours.
Mm-hmm,
they didn't have they didn't have chunks. They were literally in the network test for 72 hours. And I'm telling you,
I can imagine you just not sleeping for 3 days.
I would have, I'm telling you,
72 hours.
I'm not kidding. If you would have given me 72 hours in Elden Ring, I would have tried to play all 72 hours. I would have done it.
I was a huge Breath of the Wild fan. Like, I do think it's like one of the best games I've ever played kind of levels. So I was hyped for Elden Ring because, again, recently I've been getting into them a ton, but I was still far more looking into Breath of the Wild 2. After playing this, it has flopped for me. I cannot even slightly imagine a game I couldn't be more excited for. Once I've played that and saw like the promise it will deliver on just every little, because Breath of the Wild was so good at, why I loved it so much is exactly what Elden Ring's doing. I could like climb up this mountain thinking I would get nothing in return and get rewarded constantly for things that just seem way out of the possibility of like, I must be going to some random spot I shouldn't be, but yet I'm still getting rewarded. Elden Ring did it like tenfold of that. And I was like, man, it's like one of the best feelings for me. I can't think of a more enjoyable experience I could get from a game, to just exploring to levels like beyond imagination and still getting stuff out of it.
I don't think Breath of the Wild is one of the best games ever made. I think it's a good game. I think it's a solid game. I would give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was a very good experience. Actually, Rudy let me borrow his Wii U so I could play it because I don't own it. I haven't owned a Nintendo console since the SNES, and I rented an N64 from my video store to play Ocarina of Time, and then I borrowed this to play Breath of the Wild, and I really liked it. But like that's the thing. Like this is just another level. Like, and I know they just like to read like the headlines and not the nuance or anything. But like if you're hearing that this game is like Breath of the Wild, it's very, very minimal in its comparisons. Like you can't.
Yeah, I just meant in terms of
no, and I'm not talking. I'm not even talking about you. I'm talking about like just in general. People have said, you've heard people compare this to Breath of the Wild, and when people hear that, people are going to be like, in their head, they're going to think things that aren't true. So I want to put a disclaimer.
Yeah. The gameplay is not Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to light.
The combat is not going to be slightly relatable.
It's funny that you say that, Sean, because I think yesterday or the day before when all the Halo previews were coming out, I just kept seeing articles. The Halo, it's the Breath of the Wild of Halo.
And even that's not true because now, like, people have played a few hours of it, like Digital Foundry, they play like the first 4 levels or whatever, and they explained it really well. And they kept saying it's definitely not like that. It's more open than any previous Halo, but it's still linear, and it's still like you're doing this mission, that mission. You can choose which way to go, sure, but it's nothing like a Far Cry or a Breath of the Wild. It's a huge, just big open world to explore like Elden Ring or this. No, it's still Halo, and it's still very mission structured. Mm-hmm. So,
well, that's the other thing too. Is it's funny too, because when generally speaking, the From Software formula is you start in this place, you get your tutorial boss. That boss, in some cases, is meant to kill you. Other times, it's not. But that's your tutorial boss, and that's where you go, and then you go and begin your relatively linear journey with like Dark Souls.
Have you guys played Shadow of the Colossus ever?
Yes.
It's a lot like Shadow of the Colossus. That's the best comparison to Elden Ring I could think of. You know how like you have
I agree with that. I can agree with that
because there will be sections of the map that are quite open, but you're still choosing. Like, hey, I have 8 different directions I can go. Which way do I want to go, and then experience that dungeon in that area?
But
that's what Elden Ring is doing.
Well, yeah, but there's also way more stuff in between you and the dungeon than there is in Shadow of the Colossus. Literally, Shadow of the Colossus, you ride forever to do nothing to get to this boss,
much emptiness
to defeat the puzzle boss, and then you move on to the but like this I mean,
this
the
is
videos,
stuff around every tiny corner. Like, it's insane how much stuff there is.
There's videos showing this game and the exploration of it constantly, but it's just like, I haven't played it, but I've heard several people who I trust say it's more like Dragon's Dogma, which I want to play, but I have not played.
I've heard that a lot too, but I haven't played it yet.
And I think with the one similarity that I find with Elden Ring with Breath of the Wild is you can put the waypoint in the world, but it only appears like a beam of light coming out of the ground so that you can head in the general direction of. Mm-hmm. And I did that too. Like I was doing that like with did you guys find the telescope?
Yes.
In the world, the bird's eye telescope, so you can look and go. And there were so many things. I was like, "Ooh, I want to go there." And then I'd walk over there, and there'd just be this white wall. I'm like, God, like
they finally made it useful in the game, though.
Yeah,
in the series.
Well, not just a telescope that you have. There's like telescopes in the world that you can look into. There's like a telescope like in the middle of the road, like on the side of the road that gives you like this overview. Like it logistically can't work the way it is in the game because you're on the ground looking and then all of a sudden you're like above the world looking at everything.
Yeah,
but it was just
video games.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with From Software. They're like as dark and as like foreboding their games can be, they're also goofy as hell. Like they're goofy as hell. Like that bush monkey, like that bush like thing that you roll into it and the monkey comes out and says, "Hey, I got kicked out of that cave," and then it sends you down to the cave. It looks like a monkey. I don't know what it is. It's like a troll, like a mini troll or something. Like I don't know if you guys experienced that. There's like he was cursed and excised from his cave. It's the cave that you go to get to the dragon shrine, but like one of the creatures in there is like an NPC, but he's like a bush. Like you walk by and he's like, hey, help me out. And then you like either hit the bush or roll through the bush and it lifts the curse. And then he tells you about that cave.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
That's cool though. See, there's another thing.
Do you think they'll throw patches somewhere in the game?
100%. Patches will be in this game. If he was in Bloodborne, he'll be in this game.
See, I didn't play Bloodborne, so I don't.
Dude, you gotta play Bloodborne.
I tried, but it was again like I really I believe they're gonna like either port it, remaster it, put a patch, something. I feel it's gonna happen here real soon. I have faith.
I hope so. I've lost all faith in that, so I'm just ready to go back and play it again because it's my favorite game, and I want to play it again. But I did try to play it after playing Demon Souls at 60 frames per second. I was like, oh no. I was like, this is bad. Like,
it wouldn't be so much of a big issue if it didn't have frame pacing.
Yeah. It's not that it's just 30. It dips a ton. Like, I'm like, what is going on? I couldn't handle it only because I got this Dark Souls at 60 now. I got everything else. Like Demon Souls felt so smooth, and Demon Souls I think that's my favorite one so far that I've played. But again, I haven't played Bloodborne. But I was super into Demon Souls. The only problem with that, it felt so much shorter. I felt like I cleared through it way too fast, and it was kind of sad there.
It is easier after playing all the other ones. And I remember playing that originally when it came out on PlayStation 3, and I got to the Tower Knight and I gave up and didn't touch the game for like 6 months. And then went back to it and beat it after that. And I'm like
way too stubborn to give up on games. The only time I give up on a game is if I don't like it. I honestly like Demon Souls. Obviously, I used magic my first playthrough, so it was easy peasy lemon squeezy. I like went through that fucking game like nothing. But Dark Souls 2 was, to me, Dark Souls 2 was the hardest one. Like, to me, like Sekiro, yes, at up to that point, and then also Genichiro, Lord Ishin, the Sword Saint at the end. But in between, they didn't struggle that much. Like with that game, the hardest thing I've ever experienced in any From Software game, which you have not experienced yet, Tim, because you haven't played Bloodborne, is the final main boss of the DLC, the Orphan of Kos. And Rudy will tell you, I beat him on my third try, and I'm like, fuck you! It took me like 20 million. I stopped counting after 20. Like,
you're probably like 215 deaths.
Like I stopped. It wasn't that high, but it was definitely like way more than 20. Definitely way more than 20. And when I finally beat him, I ran around my house because I was back in New York taking care of my mom because she had a stroke, and I was taking care of her, and I would beat him. I ran around the house, running around, yelling, I beat him. I fucking beat him. And my mom looked at me like I was fucking insane. Like, she was just like, what are you talking about? And I was like, you don't know, but just know that I beat him, and I'm very happy. And then it was, I mean, these games are special. And I'm like, a lot of people are like, oh, this is going to be From Software's best game. I'm not ready to say that yet. I'm not ready to take the crown off of Bloodborne and give it to them. There's a lot of factors that make Bloodborne special to me that isn't just the gameplay. It's the setting. It's the horror aspect of it, because I'm a big horror guy. It's the trick weapons. It's all that stuff. One of the things that I really liked about this game, we touched on it a little bit. I like that Infusion is now tied to the Ash of War. Yeah. And you can take it off and put it on another weapon and then put it back on the weapon. Like, you don't.
That was cool. I thought it was going to ruin it. I thought it was going to like discard it, and I'd have to no, it just moves everything over.
Yeah, you just take it over, awesome. And then you can move it right back. You can move it back. You're like, I tried this weapon with this. I don't really like this weapon. Let me move my Ash of War back.
It rewards experimental,
and
things.
You have awesome. The option of not infusing your weapon. Like, if you have a really good strength weapon, but you want to put that like lightning bolt thing on it, you don't want to sacrifice the strength, the power of the weapon from basic physical damage. You don't have to. You could just use.
There was a
magic.
weapon, the dragon weapon. I ended up not wanting to add an Ashes to it because the special that it had natively was honestly better than anything I could attach to.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it rewards you. There's certain weapons that you can't remove it from. You can't mess with it. That's it. Those are special weapons, but it's like I love the depth and variety that it gives you. So you can be like, okay, I can still use this. Like I was using my I wound up buying like a just a longsword so I could do so I could get that gravestone arch, gravesword.
Which that was my move I've used over everything else. That was my favorite ashes.
Yeah,
the one that does spawn multiple things.
Oh,
I
the
loved
multiple
it.
swords. It's like the home. It destroyed people. The only thing it sucks is that if you're by a wall, it'll hit the wall, and then you lose that sword. But like, But like, if you,
I felt because it was so strong, I think that was a way it was trying to balance it.
It's brutal. That thing is so brutal. When I discovered that, I was like, oh, I'm using this for everything. Like,
did you discover you could use an ash? Go to the I say bonfire, I forget what they're called. Anyway, and rest there, stand back up, and it's still active, so you don't waste any FP.
No.
So use a really strong one that will like take a ton, right? And then just heal right back up, and it'll still stick with you. And I was using that a ton to sort of break it a little.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I can't to say I'm excited for this game. It would be an understatement. There's nothing I'm looking more forward to than playing this game. Like I am so excited to like this.
I'm curious when you started playing. This was a big conversation with Breath of the Wild, which why I liked it so much. And the same thing works here. When you first started it, which direction did you go? Like, how was your beginning travels? Because there's quite a few directions you can take from the start.
I wanted to get my horse as soon as possible, and I did know that you would get it at your third site of grace, and I did.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that.
And I knew where the map fragment was, so I just went down there, grabbed the map fragment, rested at the thing, so I could have my map and I could have my horse. And then after that, I went away from the castle. I wanted to explore as much of the underworld underneath the castle. Like if you're looking at the map, the bottom section, I wanted to explore that as much as possible.
Like the swamp area?
Yeah, I went to the swamps. I went to like the beach. I went to all those areas just so I could.
Okay.
I didn't look up everything, but there were certain things I was like, okay, I know I want to get this weapon. I like this weapon. Let me find out where this weapon is, because I was watching videos, and then so I would go and look up there. But I wanted to have some general, like I found Pumpkinhead by myself. I didn't realize, like I saw those plants like hanging around, and I killed those plants, and then I went down the stairs, opened the door, and like, oh, here's a boss named Pumpkinhead. So I just called my wolves and then just beat the shit out of them and just be like, all right, you're dead, Pumpkinhead. And then behind him is the lady you buy spells from. So I went to her.
Okay, cool. So yeah, James, I was curious where you started whenever you first started the game, like which direction you decided to choose from.
I started heading north from that starting point. I think the guiding light or whatever it's called wanted me to go left towards the castle area, but I went straight and kind of to the boundary area, and went through the two tunnels or the two dungeons with the what is it, the tree guard tree, or tree dog tree, or whatever
tree guardian or whatever it was, with the one.
I'm trying to think. So straight, right when you start, straight would be okay. You see the guy almost in like a Santa Claus outfit or something, the blacksmith area and all that. And then you keep going straight from there.
There's a cave behind that, and then if you go left, if you go straight behind there's a cave with the Twin Blade and the Beastman boss, and then along that rock, same rock wall, you go down the steps, and there's another little dungeon with this tree guardian. It's like that stone cat that like flies up in the air and jumps back down. Like,
okay, yep. That was the first boss I fought as well. That cat, yeah.
Yep, and then from there I actually went to the beach, and like I said earlier, I saw that big troll guy and thought, oh, I'm just gonna hide in the bushes, see if he actually sees me, and it was actually kind of cool he didn't see me.
Yeah, this is something new in these games, by the way. Stealth, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Did you guys fight the octopuses, like those big octopuses on the beach?
That's what I was going to ask. I tried to at first, completely destroyed me. It just grew way larger than I was ever expecting.
Yeah,
complete wreck.
You have to hit it in the face. You can't hit it in the sides.
Yeah, I realized after the fact.
But it goes down. It gets stun locked. You can get a critical hit in 2 hits, or just 1 hit of magic. It just stops, and then you just go and stab it. those things were actually turned out to be pretty easy.
I did think that was a little bit disappointing because I saw them and I'm like,
I think I got more scared than
anything. That, and then
like, it freaked me out how huge it grew. Yep. I started to try to run away and then it killed me. And then so I didn't mess with it again until like towards the end of the game. I was like, okay, well, I'm destroying everything left and right. I'm not scared anymore. And I went down to the beach because that was the first area that I went to. So I wanted to go back to that beginning spot and do the stuff I wasn't afraid to do anymore. And yeah, I completely wiped the floor with them, no problem. But anyway, so you kept going straight and followed all of that area. Do you remember what you did after that?
I went to go fight. What is that area? The little area besides the dragon with all the soldiers and dogs. Yeah. Those dogs destroyed me.
They're like big fluffy dogs too. It was kind of funny. They look like those dogs, like the aristocrats. The big fluffy dog in that movie. That's what those dogs reminded me of.
Yeah.
Whenever I first started, like I said, I went down to that beach and then I couldn't get around the waterfall. And then I went the other direction where I saw was trying to figure out the lights where I was trying to run and keep up with the lights and couldn't keep up with it. And I couldn't figure out what to do with it all. Then again, I got wrecked by the big octopus dude. And then I was like, all right. So then I went the complete other direction of let me try to work around the horse dude. And went to that village with the knights, and then basically went straight up from there. So the first spot I went to was all the way to the castle, and I didn't go left or right. And once I cleared all of that, cleared the main boss in that castle, that's when I started branching out to the left and right, which is funny because that ended up being one of the hardest areas, and that was the first area I explored. So, I mean, as a whole, James, where are you sitting with your just enjoyment of it overall? Is this your most anticipated game you could think of that's coming out next?
There's God of War, and there's Horizon 2, but I think I am more excited for Elden Rings after that technical test. There's just so much content, and it just felt so polished for given how many months away we are from it. It just feels like a game that's ready to come out next year, and I feel like it's going to be one of those games where I put hundreds of hours into Souls game, but I think I'm going to be putting in thousands in this one.
Yeah, I have 400 hours in Bloodborne.
Jeez. But yeah, there just seems to be so many ways you could play Elden Ring and so many possibilities. It almost seems endless because not only the difference in classes, the different ashes, the different orbs on mixing the flask, there's so many different weapon types, and when I picked that Faith there at the end, it played like a completely different game. I was like, this doesn't even slightly feel like the same gameplay anymore.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it was so cool. But Sean, what are your do you have any closing thoughts or overall thoughts?
I want to echo what James said. It's super polished. It's fucking it's from Software. I would be excited for this game even if I didn't play it. But having played it and having knowing what at least some idea of what I'm getting into, I'm so excited. I did want to say that Bandai Namco had their financials and they give their projections, and they said they expect Elden Ring to sell 4 million copies before the end of the fiscal year. So they're expecting it to sell 4 million copies in a month because it comes out at the end of February and their fiscal year ends March 31st.
Yeah, good point.
So
yeah.
I think they could do it. I think this is going to be the most successful From Software game. I think with the accessibility things that they've added, I think there's going to be more people sticking with it. I really genuinely think this is going to be, when I say it's going to be their Skyrim, I mean it's going to be, because Bethesda was popular, but Skyrim is what put Bethesda on the map. But Skyrim made Bethesda a household name.
It hit that Minecraft level of everyone now knows.
Now, do I think? I'm not saying that this game's going to sell 30 million copies, but I think it's going to be the game that really bleeds out of just the hardcore. That it's going to make them. I think they're going to get more fans with this game. I definitely think that.
Because, like you were saying earlier, it is by a landslide way more accessible than they've ever been in the past.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. But yeah, that I'm thinking, first of all, first month, 4 million. I see them doing that. But yes, I do think, like you're saying, this can be a big hit. And I'm seeing it hitting Spider-Man numbers of like 15 to 20 million copies by sort of the end of it all. I think this is going to be huge. I mean,
that would be awesome. I don't think they're going to hit 20 million, but I could see them hitting in the middle of like in the teens. Absolutely.
I gotcha.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because there is still just like, I guess
it's still a hard game.
Tough and all of that. Yeah,
it's still a hard game.
But I just really don't think it's as hard as people. I think the fear is what has people messed up more than just them actually playing it.
But when it's objectively, people, it's hard. Like your bosses are going to take you out in 2 hits. Like that's to some people.
Maybe we're just so used to dying and it not getting to us.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That goes back to what I was saying. I'm willing to let go of the runes or the souls, the runes, whatever. It's so funny though. They're like. From Software has gone out and renamed everything. And they're like, oh, this is a site of grace. Everybody is going to be like, nah, man, that's a bonfire. That's just, where's the bonfire? Yeah, everybody's going to say that. Yeah. Oh, I lost my souls. Like, even like, you know how hard it is for me to say blood echoes in Bloodborne? I'm like, nah, I lost my fucking souls. Like, it's my favorite game of all time, and I still say soul.
If you have 4 million in the first month, word of mouth, you know how crazy fast that spreads. If 4 million off the bat are buying it, because prior, I don't even know if it's definitely hasn't sold 1 million in a month. I mean, it's definitely been way lower than that even. And so if they're projecting 4 million, I just see it spreading like wildfire.
I hope so. I hope so. I said, I want them to succeed, and I want them to succeed on their own terms. I don't want them to succeed. I don't need the fake sales concern trolling where it's like, but they would sell so many more copies if they just made it more easy for people. I'm like,
I want developers to do what they want.
They've made the Dark Souls series has sold 30 million copies. That's 3 games has sold 30 million copies. Like they're doing okay.
They're good.
I don't think they operate in a vacuum and go like, why aren't we getting more successful? They're seeing the numbers. They're getting more successful. They're doing what they do. You need to accept it and embrace it and play it, or just find something else to play.
What do you think on JJ Martin's influence? Did you think you saw anything while playing this network test? I didn't.
No.
It still seems pretty much like the main guy's doing his stick. But
he wrote the lore.
But I'm curious when we actually play it and experience more, I wonder what we'll start to see, or we'll be like, oh, that does seem like something he would do, I am still curious.
I think they kind of maybe held back on that, didn't really want to show too much on it, but I think there was enough to kind of say, hey, like you said, there's going to be a lot of background lore, and it's probably going to be all of him.
Yeah, he wrote the lore, and then they just expanded on it. But it's not like, let's be real. It's not like George R.R. Martin. Like they're both influenced by the same shit. Like Miyazaki and Martin are inspired by fantasy, dark fantasy.
Yes.
They're both inspired by the same shit. It's just that he wanted to work with somebody he admired and who probably wrote things that he liked and was like, hey, could you write some like basic lore for this and we'll expand it out? And he did. And I'm seeing a lot of people thinking that like he wrote the story, and I'm like, nah, he didn't write the story. He just wrote the lore, and then they're just there. Miyazaki and whoever his team
lore.
Writers,
what is lore? Lore is
like
lore
the backstory,
world setting.
Yeah, the backstory. He probably has a backstory for all the great foes and all that stuff, and then he just fills it up with like what the story is now. Like there's going to be something weird Bloodborne-y, because why are these dudes attaching arms to themselves? Like these dudes have have infused themselves with their other shit. You know what I mean? Like that Margit the Fell guy had like antler growing out the one side of his head. You know what I mean? Like he's doing, and then there's that boss you see in the video who has like all the arms, and then there's that weird creature that you find in that one pitch black room in the castle with all the arms. That gives you the key that leads you to the ladder.
Speaking of a hard guy, that guy was pretty hard.
He was a pain
because it was such a tight environment. Is you don't have much room.
He destroyed me the first time. The second time, I was like, "Here, take my dogs," and then I just fucking whacked him with fucking magic.
But I do struggle with that. I know you were saying hey, you'll just use it and just have fun. But I do struggle with, man, I really want to try to hold back from using as much magic, because I really do feel more rewarded when I'm like getting up in there with the sword and then beating them. It feels like I don't know, it's just a personal like thing in my head of like feeling more satisfaction because
however you want to
more
beat the game, play the game. But
physical with it.
My whole thing in any RPG I play is I like to be as OP as possible to make it a joke. Like I enjoy that. Like don't get me wrong, like I like maybe maybe after I've played the game like 4 times, I'll go, okay, I'm gonna do a melee build. Like I'm on like I want to start an arcade build in Bloodborne. So I do different builds. I've done skill based. I've done like just strength. Like I'll do that. I like to do that in these games. But
yeah, I'm not trying to do some penis thing here of like, oh my god, bragging because I did melee. No. I really am just trying to say, there's just some enjoyment out of really getting up.
I did plenty of melee, but I'm saying like I'm going to use the tools that I have. Like I still ran out of magic. I still had to finish him off with actual attacks, and I did that. But I'm saying like the melee and the magic, it kind of gets me through the first half of the fight. I mean, the magic and the dogs get me through like the first half of the fight, but I still have to fight him in the second half. And I would like to have as many health flasks for that second half as possible. So,
and I experienced that because I was using the things I was talking about, where the little swords that shoot out at him. I was using that to pretty much I ran out of magic, and it was about half health, and then the rest of the fight I fought him melee because I ran out of magic. So I mean, same situation.
It's all it is giving me as keeping me alive as much as possible before I go in there. I am curious to know if you're going to ever get more flask, or if you're always going to have 4, because they do these things where like if you kill a hard enemy or a group of enemies, you get a refill. So I don't know, like every time I killed one of those giants up on the hill with the lightning that I was using, I got both of my flasks filled up again. So,
which we didn't talk about that was really awesome. I thought that was a really
another
there's
accessibility
so many cool
thing.
Small little things they kept adding that they haven't done in previous games. Or you take out a whole group of enemies and then they reward you with health. That way you can keep exploring. That way you don't have to go back to a bonfire, refresh everything. They want you to experiment as much as possible and explore as much as possible. So they keep rewarding you, so you keep going without having to go back.
Yeah,
and that's so cool. Yeah,
absolutely.
I guess that's it. I mean, obviously, I think we're all incredibly hyped for this. I mean, this is the best gaming experience I've had this year. I can easily say 100%.
that. 100%. It's better than any game I played this year. And I loved I loved Returnal, but this was better.
I'm really high on Guardians, and I know you were badgering on the dialogue just being way too much. But
way too much.
I was very much just loving every voice acting and the lore.
I think the voice acting is great.
Talking and all that. Yeah.
That they didn't want to hold back at all on any of the banter. Like, not at all. Like,
see, I liked all that. I think Guardians is one of my favorite games this year.
But that's what I'm struggling with is like, okay, put aside Elden Ring, I'm trying to figure out where I'm at with this whole Game of the Year talk. Not that it's not even that important, but it really is like Guardians, or it's I'm really digging Tales of Arise, and then I'm really digging Metroid Dread, and I'm trying to choose between those 3 right now. But I have yet to play Returnal, and I really, really want to play that. I mean, do y'all think Returnal's worth a shot?
It's my favorite game this year, yeah.
It is, definitely.
Cool. Okay. It's on sale right now for $40, so I'm about to go get it.
Do it.
But yeah.
What is it, that fourth boss? That fourth boss with just the music that plays in
with the organ?
It's great.
Yeah, that's really... Yeah.
Yep.
I only fought him once because every time I've gone through it again, I always skip to go to the. I just clear the area till I can find as much shit to get my platinum, and then I go. So the only 2 bosses I fight are the third boss and the last boss to finish the cycles. But yeah, dude, it's a really, really good game. It's hard.
Cool.
It's hard.
Whatever.
But it's like you'll get.
It almost looks like bullet helly.
It is
third person act.
It absolutely.
Cool. Because I love bullet hells. I'm a big shooter. Like vertical shooters are one of my favorite genres, weirdly enough.
I don't know where it is, because I wound up getting the digital deluxe edition, so I got one of the best weapons in the game in the first half. Like, I know it's usually a late weapon game, but if you can get the Rotland Globber,
Okay,
Don't sleep.
I'll try to remember.
Don't sleep on that.
What type of weapon is it? Like SMG?
No, it shoots. It's like a heavy weapon.
Okay.
That shoots like this poison, like a big exploding ball of poison, and it just melts. Or is it poison or acid? But
maybe it's acid.
I think it's acid. Yeah. So it shoots acid and it just melts health bars. And the good thing about it is you shoot it and it has a real quick, like, you can't shoot it like boom, 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 boom. But the time between.
Does it kind of lob?
Yeah.
When you shoot?
But you get distance. You can get a distance on it. I destroyed bosses with it. And the other weapon I highly recommend is the Electro Pylon driver.
It's the one I told you that I beat the game with, because it just obliterates
I beat the
everything.
Game the first time.
I'm gonna guess like a chain electric.
Yes.
Deal. Okay.
You shoot a spike into the boss and then to an enemy, and then shoot like a spike on the ground, and then it'll just like electrocute them, and then you can make a net of the electricity that just melts them. Cool. And the good thing about it is you don't have to be in the line of fire. You can shoot it, and then duck behind cover and just watch their health bar melt away. It's so good.
That's funny.
So good. But those are the two weapons. But yeah, man, this was a good conversation.
It's really fun. First of all, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
It was really enjoyable conversation. I'm incredibly high for Elden Ring, like I said, and it's awesome to do a little bonus episode because I have yet to really do one. And it was a great first one for sure.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
We'll see you guys.
Absolutely. Don't forget, mpfirst.com.